All right, hey everybody, welcome to. Well, we don't have a name for this. I guess it's the Fear the Fincast, 'cause that's what I call it on the Fear the Fin website. I'm Jacob Sunstrom, I'm managing editor of fearthefin.com with Marcus White, staff writer at Fear the Fin. We're here to kind of talk about the next 3 games or so on the Sharks' schedule after a nice 4 days off. Marcus, what did you do on your 4 days off? Sort of.
Kind of hung out. Didn't really do a whole lot. Wasn't super productive, but it was nice to have some time off.
I dreamed about Timo Meyer and Tomas Hertl every single night. Every night. All right, so tonight the Sharks play the Senators. The Sens coming to town for the only time this year, at least in the regular season, and I assume the only time this year, period, which means we get a chance to see Erik Karlsson, which is, really fun. One of the most fun defenders, one of the most fun hockey players, obviously, in the world. And that's a really fun matchup, obviously, the matchup between him and Burns. The Senators are kind of a weird team. I'm going to talk to the managing editor over at Silver Seven Sens a little bit later today and have a kind of an audio conversation with him that I'll have up on the site a little bit later as well. I know that
alliterative blogs.
What's that? Yes, exactly.
Alliterative blogs. We love alliteration at SBA.
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah, that's true. It's a curse among journalists. I know that. What are you expecting from the Sens? I mean, they just lost the game to the Penguins 8-5. That's a team that's kind of overachieved based on their possession numbers. It's a weird team, and the question I'm going to pose to him is, what's the deal with the Senators? What are you expecting to see from them tonight?
I think kind of another weird game, probably a game similar to what we saw on Saturday, or excuse me, on Friday. Friday when the Sharks played Montreal, except the opposite. I expect the Sharks to kind of be the team to control play, and Ottawa will be, the ones shelled in possession a little bit. Yeah, like you said, a weird team. They're really getting all the luck this year that they didn't have last year. It doesn't really seem like much has changed from their team. Maybe a couple changes, systemic changes as well with Guy Boucher in charge now. But Karlsson's having another great year. But remember they played the Sharks around this time last year, and it was kind of the same deal. They were a team that scored a lot of goals, but really was not very good in possession. The only difference being this year they're in a playoff spot at the moment. But even though what we know about teams in the playoffs at Thanksgiving, I see too much talent elsewhere in that division for them to get in.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. The biggest thing to me is that I think about the Senators, and part of this is obviously that they're just in the Eastern Conference. But if you had me name, 5 Senators, I'd really struggle to do so. I could go be Erik Karlsson, Bobby Ryan. Is Daniel Alfredsson still there?
No,
exactly. And it's like it's a very weird team that's managed to generate a lot of offense with a lot of. I don't want to say nobodies because it's not really true, but it's just they don't really have a lot of star power on the team. It's just kind of a part of that. Obviously, is that notoriously stingy ownership group. I think that's something that's kind of hampered them over the years. And I don't really. It's also a group that I don't really know what the plan is going forward. Obviously Erik Karlsson is very, very young, and that's a guy they're going to have for a long time. And that's a guy that you can build around, whatever. But if you ask me what the plan is for the Senators, I'd say I don't know. Probably, hopefully, make the playoffs and just kind of be on the treadmill of mediocrity until Erik Karlsson retires, kind of the same way that Daniel Alfredsson did.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really feel like they have. They're kind of in the worst spot possible, especially if they make the playoffs. It's the spot the Sharks were. We were worried about them being in, before they kind of had this resurgence. It's, low playoff team, probably going to get knocked out in the first or second round this year, barring some huge change. And they're not bad enough, at least this year, where they're going to get a high draft pick. And they weren't bad enough last year, where they got a super high draft pick. I'm not sure what their pick situation is, but yeah, it feels like they're a team that, like you mentioned, ownership that's constantly being pulled between, like, are we going to rebuild or are we trying to contend? They're the little brother in Ontario, so they have that as well with the Maple Leafs in Toronto. They've been kind of a weird team since Karlsson has been there. And, I unlike when Alfredsson was there, I don't see them, I don't think they have the pieces currently to make a a deep run even in the future. I mean, they arguably mortgaged their future trading Mika Zibanejad for Derek Brassard, an older, arguably worse player. So
yeah, absolutely,
a very strange team.
Yeah, and so after that, the Sharks then go to Anaheim on Friday to play the Ducks. That's obviously a much more important game for the Sharks. So, I mean, the biggest danger I think in the Senators tonight is the fear of a look ahead type situation, which the Sharks are certainly prone to do, especially against mediocre Canadian teams. They've done it before. They'll do it again.
Yeah.
That Ducks game is certainly an important one. And then the Sharks come home for a back-to-back against Carolina, which I think we saw as a very good team, especially if they get decent goaltending. So it's kind of an interesting. It's a 3-game set. It's 3 games in 4 days that is a lot tougher than it looks on paper, because I think that if depending on the way the coins flip, they could see 3 very difficult teams or 3 very, very terrible teams. If the Senators get really good shooting, because I mean they're a great offensive team and they're certainly capable of doing it. If the Ducks get really good shooting, which again they're capable of, and if the Hurricanes get okay goaltending, which they're capable of, then it's a really tough set. If they get the opposite way, the Sharks could win all of these games by 3 goals, no problem. So I think it's kind of an interesting set. That being said, these are all winnable games, and these are all teams that the Sharks, at least on paper, should be better than, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they've had a few days off now. They've had some rest, so that'll help, because they had a really, really busy stretch, and they're going to have another busy stretch next week. They have back-to-back Ottawa, Toronto. This is a stretch, though. You look at it on paper and you think it's one that they can get points in each of these 3 games, and then that'd be big. I mean, it's still early in the season, but they have that division lead, and they want to pat on it. So
yeah, I mean, technically, right? They come into this game now behind Edmonton by
I didn't even realize. So
because Edmonton has played now. I believe it's 3 more games than the Sharks now, at least 2 more games than the Sharks, and we can thank Buffalo
3 more games.
for 3 more games. Yeah. We can thank Buffalo for coming back with, I think, under a minute last night and tying with Edmonton, and then taking it to overtime and beating the Oilers in overtime. So Edmonton's only a point up on the Sharks now.
Edmonton and Calgary have played the most games in the division, and they're 1st and 3rd in the division because they played the most games.
Calgary, I think, has won 7 of their last 10, something like that. Calgary beat.
They have, they are, and they've won 4 straight.
Yeah, Calgary beat the Stars last night, who continued to fail to do just absolutely anything remotely close to success.
Minus 20 goal differential.
That's it's baffling.
There's really not a lot of teams in the West with positive goal differentials. Also,
this is the year.
At 0 or firmly in the negative.
Yeah, this is the year that the Eastern Conference finally takes over again. It's been a while since the Eastern Conference was firmly the better conference, and I think this is it. This is the year that I think we have hired enough of the Eastern Conference's shitty coaches that now we're the worst conference. So
yeah,
that's what it took. Bringing Randy Carlyle back was the straw that broke the camel's back. And that makes sense to me.
Exactly.
It's okay. So we've talked enough about other teams. Let's talk about specifically what the Sharks have done over this little 4-game window. So we talked about in the last podcast that the Sharks sent down Kevin LeBanc and Ryan Carpenter. We talked about that being kind of a paper move, and that we were kind of expecting those guys to play for the Barracuda right away. They did do that. They played for them on both Saturday and Sunday. In those games, let's see, LeBanc had points in both of those games, and I believe had, I want to say it was 5 or 6 shots on goal. Was very productive. It makes sense. Dude was lights out. I think he actually had 3 points. I take it back. I think he was better than a point a game when he was down there. He was incredible, just like he was when he was down there before. And so naturally, he got the call back up. I was a little bit surprised that Carpenter didn't get called back. And it's still possible that he could. He still could. I haven't checked my email in the last 15 minutes. Around now is when that email would go out. So I won't rule it out or anything. Timo Meier had an incredible weekend, scored 4 goals, had something ungodly like 10 shots on goal over the weekend. I mean, it might have been more than that. It might have been more like 15 shots on goal. Something just
a lot,
absolutely absurd. And the Barracuda are just playing absolutely out of their minds right now. As it stands, though, LeBanc is the only call-up to the Sharks right now. So right now, we know we've got LeBanc back with the team. Karlsson is healthy, as far as we know. Wingels is back and healthy. So basically, the only guy right now is Hurdle. So what is the team – what are you expecting them to look like tonight?
I think I wasn't too surprised that they only called up one player. Cap space was tight as is, and this way they have 13. And they like Wingels at that fourth line center spot. We can. I would probably argue that Ryan Carpenter was a little more effective there, but it's still, I think today's going to be Wingels' 3rd game back. Maybe his 4th.
Second or third. It might just be a second game back. Yeah.
So he hasn't played a ton. So it'll be good to nice to see him after a few days off.
Sure.
We maybe could see another move today because I know Couture's had maintenance days the last 2 days. He had the screw removed in his ankle, which sounds just my ankle
doesn't
hurts.
Sound good. Yeah. No. Thank you.
So we could see another move then, perhaps, but yeah, I think the lineup tonight you're probably going to see. I think LeBanc skated with Tierney and Ward the last 2 days, so if Couture plays, I'd expect LeBanc to play with Couture and Ward, Tierney with Bodker and
Donskoy.
And Donskoy, yeah, the captains staying together, and then Haley, Wingels, Karlsson, or maybe you put Karlsson up in the top 6. And then LeBanc's on the 4th line. LeBanc and Haley seem to have some chemistry together with Ryan Carpenter in the middle. That was a pretty effective look for the 4th line.
Yeah. I think actually that Haley looked the best when he was with LeBanc and Carpenter. And I know it's such a small sample that I don't want to read too much into it, but I think Haley looked much better with those guys than he has looked when he's been with like Tierney and Wingels for sure. Like if
his style fit, I think, with those two.
Absolutely. Because I feel like it's more of a blend of styles rather than the same style because he's too similar to Wingels. And I feel like they're kind of like trying to do the same thing. Whereas it's like LeBanc is comfortable because like, Haley's doing this thing, LeBanc's doing this thing. And Carpenter's like, I know what these guys are doing and I can do my own thing.
They have a little. It felt like it was a little bit more of a flexible line, and anecdotally, I know their possession numbers were really good together, but anecdotally, it felt like whenever they were on the ice, that they, were cycling the puck well, and they were working really well together. So, maybe DeBoer tries to see if that's the combination still with Wingels centering, because I'd imagine Wingels can play a pretty similar game to Carpenter, but maybe they want LeBanc in the top 6. Not too surprised about Meier though. I've been reading a little bit about him, and it seems like he's taking a lot of penalties.
Recently though, those numbers have been way down. He hasn't taken a penalty for 7 games. Great. All of those penalties were early in the season. I went and looked on this. I meant to write a post on this, and I know that someone posted in the comments yesterday, and this is something I'm going to do once we're done with this show. Doug Wilson was on a radio show yesterday where he talked about guys like Meier and even Sorensen being, close. And I haven't listened to the full quotes yet, but I took that to be a good sign. But yeah, the penalties early on especially were a big concern, and I know that all those penalties were of the not good variety.
Yeah.
I know that's a concern, and the retaliatory, undisciplined, not good type stuff. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's just a matter of also. I think that comes with time, and I think it comes back to they don't want to quite rush him yet. They know that I think it goes back to how great of a camp LeBanc had and how well he's played this season. That if he didn't get on the coach's, radar at that time, maybe they stick with 12, or maybe they, or maybe they bring up Meyer sooner than LeBanc. So, I wasn't too surprised to see him not come up. I think it's smart. You don't want to rush him. I think if when he gets called up, it'll be in a time similar to when LeBanc got called up. The team's struggling to score, maybe going through a little injuries. Maybe they have a stretch in the schedule where they haven't done, as well. Although, maybe you see him called up for the Toronto, for the East Coast road trip.
That's what I was going to say too. I know they like to bring a body for the road trips too, and it wouldn't shock me to see them bring him for the road trip here. I also think that this 3-game swing, in my opinion, could be a big test for Tommy Wingles and what his future is going to be with this team. Because I think you're right that the 1-game sample right after he comes back from injury, that would be a really unfair audition for him. But this 3-game swing, if they put him, say, hey, James, you're going to play 4th-line center. We'll see how you do.
Yeah.
And then maybe they make a decision. I think that might be the situation. And if that's the case, I think that's A, a lot more fair to a guy who's been with the organization a long time, and B, would just be a smarter coaching decision. And if that's the case, then maybe we see a decision made, come Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I think he deserves a little bit longer of a look after coming back from injury, for sure. Like you said, the service to the organization. But in a limited sample, Ryan Carpenter's looked good and capable in that spot, and he's a lot cheaper than Tommy Wingles.
He's at least forced people to think about it anyway.
I think, and it's going to be something they have to think about as long as Hurdle's out, because Tierney's filled in, pretty well at the 3rd-line center spot.
He's gotten a lot better since the beginning of this, and since last season especially, and even since the beginning of this season. He looks still. I still don't think he's the answer, but I think even maybe even by next season that I would feel a lot more comfortable with him in that role if he continues to improve at this rate. I've been really impressed by how much he's improved already.
He's taking these, it feels like he's putting it together a little more consistently. I've always thought he's a good, he's a pretty skilled player for a guy whose reputation coming out of junior was, he's a checker and a penalty killer.
A penalty killer, right, exactly.
But he's got good hands. He has really good offensive instincts. I think he's, obviously he's not as good as Joe Thornton, but I think he's one of the best passing forwards on the team.
That's what I was going to say. He's a good assist guy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's, he's got you look at his skill set and you think, okay, this can coalesce into something pretty good for our bottom 6 or our top 9. I think maybe at the beginning of the year, they were asking him to punch above his weight a little bit. And, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or he just said, okay, now I have to, with Tomas Hertl out, I have to step up and I have to play in that spot. But he's been good there. And I like the look of that line. I think putting Donskoy with him helps, I think, for sure. I think Couture's a player where even though the two have played 10 hours together, that you can split Couture and Donskoy up and Couture will still be okay. And I think, even though Donskoy is technically a less experienced player than Tierney because he didn't play the year before like Tierney did before last year.
Yeah.
But I think that's a calming presence for him on that line, and I think it's helped.
I mean, Donskoy's got that pro experience too. I mean,
exactly.
Pro experience earlier that, And even so, I think that Tierney having that, I know he was in junior, but he wasn't playing in the queue, He wasn't just playing in junior. He was playing with a very, very, very good junior team.
Yeah.
And that matters. It makes a difference. He was playing in the best junior league in the world with, one of the best junior franchises of all time. And I think that makes a difference as far as his development is concerned. And I think that's a big part of the reason so many people were so excited about him. I think I look at his skill set. You never know what a guy's going to eventually develop into. But I think you're right. When you look at the way his passing ability, I see him as a guy that, maybe at least at some point could develop into a guy that could be a guy that you put on. Yeah, I mean, even as a quarterbacking guy for a second power play unit as far as his passing ability. Because I like the way that he sees the ice. Like I feel comfortable with him handling the puck at the blue line because he's good, handling the puck in dangerous areas in the defensive zone. So as such, I feel comfortable with him doing the same in a dangerous position while on the attack.
Yeah, and I think he looked good in that because he got a lot of power play time in the preseason with the World Cup guys gone, and I thought he looked good there, and he hasn't gotten the look there yet.
Which doesn't surprise me. I mean, but you're going to get bumped down the depth chart by those guys. That says a lot. It doesn't say as much about Tierney as it does about those other guys.
No, exactly. But with the second unit not really having a center, Joel Ward is taking most of the faceoffs. I wonder if maybe we start to see Tierney get some looks, especially as Hurdle continues to be out. But I agree with what you said. The pedigree's there, the skill set's there, and it feels like he's starting to put it together.
All right. I guess the only other personnel type stuff is that. I wanted to point out Barracuda thing. Mantis Armalis has continued to play a ton of minutes. He played in both games of the back-to-back this weekend. He's got his save percentage up, I think, back over 900 again. This is something that I thought was interesting. When I was looking at the Barracuda's numbers this weekend, because there was no Shark stuff to talk about. Part of the thing I thought that was holding them back, they were in fourth place in the Pacific despite having pretty good possession numbers, was their goaltending. They have a 908, which doesn't sound very good. That's in the top 10 last I looked in save percentage.
Really?
In the AHL. So, which in fairness, I think tells you a whole lot more about AHL defenses than it does about AHL goaltending. Because I think, as we know, the depth in goaltending, there are good goalies in the ECHL. There are not good defenders in the ECHL, So I think that's reason to be optimistic about, guys even like Mantis Armalis, who started very, very slowly adjusting to the North American game.
Did he play when you went to Ontario?
Did he play? Yeah. No, I think. Well, I honestly can't remember. I want to say it was Grosnick, but maybe that was the game he got hurt in. Did he get hurt in practice?
Yeah, I can't. I think he might have gotten hurt in practice.
See, so that's what I think too, because I think it was Grosnick, but then I was thinking, well, but if he got hurt in a game, nobody got hurt in that game. So so I think it was Grosnick. Yeah. But like watching a goalie means just absolutely nothing to me. I can't sit there and watch a guy and be like, oh yeah, especially not from the stands and be like, oh man, he looks so confident, or
I'm just curious about because it seems his save percentage was very low to start. It seems like he's been getting better over these games. 912 would sit. That's a save percentage that sits outside the top 20 currently. But I think it's encouraging that he's starting to pick up on the North America, because he was a very good goaltender in Sweden. They signed him for more than just his looks. So it's nice to see him make that adjustment to North American ice.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Heed also had a good weekend. I know he had a goal in one of those games. That's another guy that is worth keeping an eye on. I know that's a guy that the Sharks are glad that they have in the organization for sure. I thought that was a really good pickup by them.
We'll see if Schlemko skates today. He took a maintenance day.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 days he has not skated, or he took a maintenance day.
I know he took at least one of the days that Couture did. I remember seeing that. I don't know if he took both of the days that Couture did. He might have, though.
I'll check. I wasn't able to go to a little bit of breaking news. Sharks recalled Mirko Mueller.
Wow.
I'm a little surprised he got the call up before Tim Heed.
Me too. I'm shocked, actually.
Yeah.
Why? I wonder. I honestly.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
I would take that as Schlemko not being able to, potentially not being able, or someone on defense.
But then why wouldn't you just play Dylan DeMello?
It could be a longer term thing. If they bring up a seventh, that's my guess.
Then who do you think that they're just putting Mueller in the press box then, though? Because wouldn't you want to call up a body that you're not going to play? Because you want Mueller to play, right?
What's up?
Because you want Mueller to play in the AHL, right? If you're going to call.
I don't know if they have games. I don't know what their schedule is.
They play tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, go do some reporting. Marcus has to go to the.
I'll do my best to find out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, sounds good. Well, that's going to be it for us. We have work to do. Well, good. By the time that anyone listens to this on iTunes, we'll have some news about Mirko Mueller on the website. I can't wait. Great. Is he old enough to drink yet, Mirko Mueller? Man, how old is that?
I think he just turned like.
Lord. Do you think that Logan Couture took him out to Santana Row for his birthday to his favorite TGI Fridays?
He turned 21 in March.
Favorite. Okay, yeah.
Mirko Mueller up.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, we'll do another one of these on Monday after I get back from the center of the universe in Toronto. If I make it back, I guess. If I don't, we'll broadcast live from Toronto. Well, maybe I could go to the Sharks game if I get stuck there. There's supposed to be a blizzard in Toronto this weekend. So
hey, everything's coming up, Jake.
Well, I'm gonna go crash at the Sharks hotel. Maybe Jamie Baker will let me stay in his hotel room. or friend of the blog, Kevin Kurz.
Find out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, somebody, please, God. All right, sounds good. Well, Marcus, always a pleasure. You can follow Marcus on Twitter at Marcus P. White, me on Twitter at Jake Sundstrom. Follow us on Twitter at Fear the Fin. Hey, we're doing a Fear the Fin night, January 14th, St. Louis Blues, and going to see a Barracuda game against the Stockton Heat.
The retconned first annual Barracuda.
Yeah, no, never mind. I'm just kidding. That people got really mad about that. I should learn how to Google. You can go to our website. It's pinned on the front page to learn more about that. Thank you. Don't slide into my DMs, please. No more. All right. Thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys.